shoe that Vibram made. I saw it in an article in a blog in 2005 December. I went, oh my God, if this thing's any good, this might be one of the sort of, I actually wrote a blog report, paradigm shifting Trojan horses. I thought, if that shoe actually is any good, and I wrote the company and convinced them they'd send me a pair, and the rest is history. So, but if that thing was any good, and indeed when I got it, it played an important role for me. It allowed me to go out and run on trails and whatnot. Anyway, long story short, I knew that we needed a product at least to get our foot in the door, no pun intended. And now here we are on the cusp of a radical change, which for me is this, allowing us to rediscover the excitement, the immense awesomeness of being a human being, the evolutionary background that got us here, the spearhead of all that experimentation. And here we are in this ancient technology, recognize that it's awesome, learn how to use it, enjoy it. Health and pleasure, those are the two things why I run and move, and I think that's what we should do. So, I think that the concepts we're talking about here are very powerful, and not just for the shoe industry and for running, but for all the different types of industries and all types of health. I mean, if we were to apply some of these same concepts that Dr. Lieberman was talking about to the sunscreen industry, what would the implications be? How has sunscreen been designed over the last 100 years? Where has it failed? And why do we need it today, and potentially, perhaps not in the past? So this raises a lot of questions around a lot of different areas in the health world, whether it's food or fitness or posture or running or sleep, any of these different areas. Another really powerful concept that Chris brought up when he was talking, and Dr. Lieberman, does a fish get repetitive stress injuries from swimming? Does a bird get injured from flying? And we're actually starting to see a revolution that's happening in zoos around the world, where a lot of zoos have, by and large, solved the problems of animals dropping dead. The animals don't drop dead anymore. They actually live longer than they do in the wild in a lot of different situations. And so the emphasis has shifted from longevity and lifespan to quality of life, and how do you actually keep these animals as healthy as possible, given the fact that they're in captivity. And the basic approach that they're taking is to go look at the evolutionary biology of the species, see how it lives in the wild, and then try to replicate the most relevant or important aspects of their natural habitat within the zoo. If you take, for example, polar bears, you go to a zoo, polar bears are typically one of the animals that does very poorly in zoos, and they're always pacing and things like that. And they were wondering if it was having to do with predators. Maybe predators needed the activity of hunting, or maybe it's animals that just move a lot. And as they've started to study it, they've seen that nomadic animals that have large home ranges are the ones that have the most difficult time adapting to zoos. And the basic conclusion is nomads don't want a home. If you're a nomad, you don't do well in a single context. And so in some ways, zoos have been quietly under the radar discovering a lot of these health concepts independently and away from all this conventional wisdom around human health, and are a fascinating experiment in how you can change your habitat and potentially improve your health. So that's next time you go to a zoo or look at some other species, it's a potentially very powerful concept and a way to sort of sidestep the typical debate about health.